Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're watching us. We are today in a very interesting interview. It's for us a great pleasure to have with us Terri Apter. She has written with Sentir the book of the Teens Interpreter. She is a renowned psychologist and author who has dedicated her career to understanding the complexities of the human mind. Throughout all her career, Ms. Apter has developed research on topics related with psychology. Her insights have been instrumental in advancing our understanding of how the brain works and how we can use the knowledge to improve our lives. With her new book, Ms. Apter hopes to share her expertise with a wider audience and inspire readers to explore the fascinating world of adolescent psychology. Her writing is clear, accessible, and filled with real-world examples that illustrate the concepts she discusses. For us, as I said, it's a great pleasure to have you, Terri Apter. Thank you very much in the Sentir House. Terri Apter, she's a psychologist and writer at the University of Cambridge. She is based in England, and her books on family dynamics, identity, and relationships have received international recognition. With us, she's the author of the book, The Adolescent Interpreter, Challenges and Pleasures of Education in Adolescence. Next, we're going to make you some questions related to your book and how to get to know better the adolescents. And the first question would be, with all the mental health information related to adolescents, what are you think the most frequent situations or problems of adolescents nowadays?
Well, a lot of the questions and issues and problems that adolescents face, or that we as parents or educators have with adolescents, are problems that have been noted for centuries. So one issue is that adolescents tend to reject what their parents say or what any grown-up says. And many parents say to me, I can never say the right thing. They don't listen to a word I say. That kind of rebellion against the family and against the adult world has been noted, across generations. I think the mistake we make is in not understanding what they're actually doing when they're criticizing us and seeming to reject us. They're not actually saying, I have no use for you, I don't want you in my life. They're saying, I'm frustrated because you haven't kept up with how I'm changing and how my needs are changing. You're not listening to me. You think I'm the little child you once knew. I'm really very different. So, to make things better and better support our teens, I think it's very important to understand what it is they really need from us, and that they're not trying to push us away. So another aspect of adolescence, which we worry about today very much, but other generations have also worried about, is their risk-taking. And we now know that teens have a very different brain structure from either children or grown-ups. During the teen years, the brain is undergoing all sorts of changes. And one aspect of this change is that the reward centers work in a very different way. So teens are not satisfied with all those low-level pleasures that see us through the day, the nice walk to work, the comforting hot coffee, the nice phone conversation. These aren't enough to satisfy the teens' reward center. They need something new, they need novelty, and they need excitement. And of course, risk is among these. And then another and linked issue is their social anxiety. And teens have what's called a looking glass self. And that means that they're very, very sensitive to how they think other people are looking at them. And this is one reason why peers, their friends, have such a lot of influence on teens, because they want to be part of the group and they want to be seen as okay by their peers. So when they're in a risky situation, what seems to grown-ups like a risky situation, oh, let's jump off a bridge, or let's drive fast, or, let's do this really stupid thing. Their sense of danger is more, what if my friends think I'm not one of them? What if my friends are critical of me? What if my friends think I'm a coward? That's the greater risk. And they're willing to risk, physical harm to avoid that risk of being mocked or excluded from the group. Now, when we come to the new things, an obvious one is social media. And there's a lot of attention on how teens are affected by social media. And usually it's thought that social media is harming their well-being. We also see from various studies how teen anxiety and teen depression and general vulnerability in terms of mental health seems to have increased markedly over the past 20 years. And there are some ways that you can look at correlations between the rise of social media and the increase in teen depression. But I would challenge anyone to say that they really understand this and understand what's going on. I think social media is a new complication in teens' lives, and they're trying to get their minds around it. It can be very distracting. It means that they can never switch off that looking glass self. They're always out there. They always can be seen, and they put an awful lot of effort into portraying themselves, presenting themselves on social media in a way that does make them popular, does make them acceptable, does make them at least okay. And they can be constantly looking at social media to find out what is okay, what do my friends like, what's popular, what's cool. And so this hijacks a lot of very old issues, but magnifies them. And it makes a lot of sense to try to work with teens to try to manage their social media use. This is very difficult because teens don't always listen to us, and because we don't really know our way yet around social media, nor do they.
Thank you very much for your wide answer. Then it's very difficult, the situation in adolescence, because at the same time they have to struggle with having the acceptance from their peers, but at the same time they are all the time with the risk, looking for like making the transgression, to be rebellious with their parents mostly. So it's very difficult for them not to keep these two ways.
Yes, but I think if parents understand how much teens still care about them, so yes, friends become very important in adolescence, and many parents think, I don't matter to them anymore. All they care about is their friends. And what I try to do in the Teen Interpreter is to show parents that that isn't the case, that teens still are greatly attached to parents, that they care enormously about what a parent thinks of them, and that they want a parent to be curious about them. I mean, curiosity, who are you? What's happening to you? What are you feeling? This is a very strong relational move. It shows that you're willing to learn from them. And I think if parents can somehow get that across to their teens, if parents themselves can calm their own anxiety about, what risky behavior is my teen engaging in? Am I losing all influence on my teen? If parents became more sensitive to the messages that teens are sending, I still want you in my life. I want you to listen to me. I want you to try to get to know me again. I want the same warmth and curiosity about who I am. I want it now, but in a different way from the way you showed it when I was a developing child and you were so interested in me and wanted to know what my interests are. Teens want that as well. And because this stereotype of a teen as someone who never listens and doesn't care about parents and only cares about friends, that cultural stereotype tends to put a barrier between parents and teens so that parents don't actually hear what it is their teens are asking for and what they're showing their parents they need from them.
So related with this and the important paper, fathers and mothers, that most of the time we see as a psychologist, they are very, very lost. Could you give us a simple guidelines to fathers and mothers to be able to deal in a kinder way and have a better communication and closer relationship with teenagers?
Okay, well, the first thing is to set aside your belief that they're trying to reject you. They're not trying to reject you. They're trying to update you in terms of who they are and what they need. And I have found that if you change this approach, then parents are much less defensive and much less anxious in those inevitable arguments you have with teens. The arguments aren't, I want to push you away. The arguments are, I want you to put energy into seeing who I am now. So that's my first message. The second thing is that it is difficult. It is difficult because you want to keep your teen safe, and your teen is very eager to try out new and risky things. So you do need to have a scaffold of rules, of controls over their behavior. But at the same time, if you can put this in the context of, I know you're changing, I know you're learning, I know you're growing. So I want to assess, the steps up you take in being responsible. And when I see those steps up, I'm going to, I'll give you more freedom, or we can test this, and this is what I need from you. So showing it as a scaffold, not as punishment, but as something that, you and your teen need, but assuring them that it can be flexed, it can be revised, it can be changed according to how responsible they can show themselves in their behavior. And then my third point would be that it's important to be patient with the adolescent social anxiety. It's serving a purpose. It's a way of inducting the adolescent into a social world that they'll have to navigate, throughout their lives. And you can help them manage their anxiety, but not by dismissing it. Oh, don't care about what he says or she says, or, it doesn't matter. Don't try to deny their emotional ups and downs. It's tempting for a parent to want to fix something or to shove it away. A teen is really feeling down. You want to say, don't do that. It's not important. It's much more useful to the teen, helpful to the teen, for the parent to ask questions. How do you feel? Let me try to understand, not let me fix it, let me toss it away, but let me understand it and stay with you in this unhappiness. Holding your teen in mind can be very difficult because a parent doesn't want to think about how unhappy a teen might be. But sometimes teens are very unhappy. They can be very low. And if instead of saying, oh, just cheer up, you say, I'm going to sit with you, or I'm going to attend to this, and I'm going to, be there with you through these difficult times, that is much more effective in helping the teen themselves manage their difficult feelings than it is if you just try to comfort them or fix it.
Very interesting, everything you're saying. Thank you very much also for being so clear. Related to this that you were commenting about, that many adolescents, they are unhappy. We have in an international view, we have many data about the suicide, depression between adolescents, self-injuries, and many times we tend to blame parents. And I would like to ask you if you think that there's a responsibility also from all the society, and where or in what do you think we are failing as a society today, and at the same time, what could we do to improve the mental health of young people?
Well, there are many things that we should do better as a society, and one error could be seen in the pandemic. I think the idea that it's okay to lock teens away from their social interactions, from their routines with other people. The costs, I understand why those decisions were made, but the costs of that are very, very high, and they will continue to be high. Another thing we do wrong, I think that we're on the wrong track in terms of supporting teens' mental health, is trying to talk too much about mental health, saying you should be aware of mental health issues. And this is a very controversial view, but mental health awareness has some good points, but it also has a lot of downsides. So, of course, you want to remove the stigma for someone who really does have a mental health issue. But you don't want to give the message that if I'm down, if I'm having ups and downs, if I'm unhappy, if I'm anxious, then that's somehow tantamount to a mental illness. It isn't. It's ordinary experience. And so I think we're pathologizing a lot of things that are normal, and they then get frightened about having feelings that are actually normal. And so what can happen is that, they feel anxious, they feel stressed, they feel upset, and then they get anxious about their feelings. And that can go into a spiral. Oh dear, I'm depressed. That's awful. And so I'm anxious about being depressed, and then I'm anxious about being anxious. I think we have to avoid that. And that's one of the things I mean when I say parents can help by holding the teen in mind, even when they're unhappy. It's a way of saying, we can both weather this, we can both tolerate this unhappiness is not going to kill us, and it's not permanent. The other thing where I think we're very much on the wrong track is that we're not teaching resilience. So we give them trigger warnings. We talk about safe spaces. We say, you shouldn't be exposed to something that might upset you. This can be, in school, in a film, anything. As though we're making the assumption that they cannot manage these very difficult feelings. So I think it's much more important to teach resilience than it is to make sure that they avoid difficult times, and helping them experience a recovery from, a heartache, a quarrel with friends, a disappointing exam result, rather than saying it doesn't matter, or it didn't happen, or you've just got to snap out of it. Help them experience that discomfort, and then the steps towards recovery. That's much more important. Final thing I would say is that, given that teens are sort of in a mental environment, in a brain environment in which they're likely to take risks and do stupid things, I would like to see the law changed so that it's much more forgiving to 16, 17, 18-year-olds who do stupid things, who do low-level breaking of the law, because many teens who act out at 16 and 17 are perfectly fine, law-abiding adults by the time they reach the age of 24. So I'd like to see some, legal forgiveness there as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much, Terri Apter. To finish, I would like to ask you, I don't know if you have seen the Spanish version of...
You sent me the beautiful cover. Yes, thank you.
The Adolescents Interpreter, Challenges and Pleasures of Education in Adolescence. Could I ask you, Terri Apter, if you mind, for those people who still don't have the book, like teachers, parents, professionals, psychologists, could you give us an abstract of, in 1 minute, of what is the book really about?
The book is, okay, so one of the things I want to do in the book is show how interesting teens are, that they're going through a very exciting growth spurt. And this kind of mental growth spurt is every bit as important as the one that you see in infants, between birth and the age of 3. They're really forming their brains. They're finding their way around their world. They're extremely, they're creative. They want to find their own way. I think they're so often misunderstood. Parents think that they're being rejected by their teens when all they want is a better kind of understanding. Parents and other adults think that teens are just stupid when they take risks, and they worry that it's a sign of weak character. It's a phase, and it's a phase which is very important, which serves us as a, as a species very well, because this is a time during which they explore their world and develop the skills that this generation will need going into adulthood. So I want to show how teens are changing, how they're living, how they're feeling and responding in a way that parents can understand and make use of that understanding in, in helping teens weather this very exciting time.
Thank you very much. For us as a publishing house in Sentir is very important, this respectful view about adolescence as you transmit in each of these pages. We are about to finishing. Before saying goodbye, I don't know if there's something else you want to add or say.
I think the most important message is that parents are still incredibly important to their teen. They still have an awful lot of influence, and they can use this best if they're able to interpret some of those very puzzling teen behaviors.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Terri Apter. To finish, I would like to recommend your book that has been translated to the Spanish and many other languages that we have in the Sentir Publishing House. For us, it has been a real pleasure to share this time with you, hoping to have you someday in Spain and giving.
Lovely, yes.
We'll talk about hope to do something presentially, and we give our honest congratulations and grateful for this book that we are sure it will be very useful for families and also for adolescents. Thank you very much, Terri Apter.
Thank you.